What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. Today, we are rolling right along with our 7-round team mock drafts. We have 2 left after today. Today, we are tackling the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this is one that I've actually been excited to do the past couple days. It's been really tough trying to decide what to do exactly with their plethora of random mid-round picks that they possess. So obviously you could see I've already made a few trades. I will explain them before we get into the actual drafting, but I wasn't really a fan of the picks that the Los Angeles Rams had. There was a lot of holes in between a lot of big picks. Like, I'll actually tell you what it was at the beginning before I started. It was pick 36, pick 69, 77, 167, 171, 177, 182, 189, 191, 223, and 251. So I made a couple of trades beforehand because that's the way that this mock draft simulator kind of sort of works. So I traded to get the 48th, the 88th, and the 127th overall pick. Now, the way that I did it was I traded with the Detroit Lions for the number 48 overall pick. I traded the 69th overall pick, and then I believe it was 3 mid-round picks, and then a 4th rounder for next year. So really the only draft capital that we're giving up, for the most part, that might hurt us, is the 4th rounder for next year. And then I traded down from spot number 77. I got number 88 from the Jacksonville Jaguars and number 127. So I think that it kind of evens out the board much better. I'd rather have less picks and better value than have more picks and just not that much value. So instead of having those big disparagements between pick numbers 77 and 167, we now have 88, 127, 171. So it's a little bit more palatable there. We still have a bunch of picks. We have, I think it's 9 picks that we have here. So I pick number 36 is where the draft starts. I don't think if the Rams were to trade up, I think it is on day 2 or early day 3. I don't think that they're really considering trading into the first round. This is really the start of their true rebuild. They were the worst statistically and record-wise, the worst defending champions in NFL history this past year. And if we look at their roster, I have it here just to kind of really get a glimpse of how bad it's going to be for the next year or two, possibly. I mean, it's just bad. The Rams have a lot of money tied up into very few players. The roster is just barren. I mean, look at how many holes we have here. We have no backup quarterback. We have barely any backup offensive linemen. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, the offensive line really isn't as horrible as people think it is, at least the starting 5. We have a big hole at left guard. Coleman Shelton, I'll be honest with you guys, is not going to be my starter going into the season. I don't think it's going to be the Rams either. But Joe Noteboom and Rom Havenstein, you have a lot of money tied into those guys over the next couple of years. So you might as well play them. And they're not bad options at all. Logan Bruss tore his ACL before the season started last year. He's going to slot in. He's going to get that right guard position. Brian Allen had a pretty down year last year, but the year before that, he was excellent. And then, like I said, the real hole is at left guard. So I feel like if we can get a guard early and then maybe get some depth down the board, I think the offensive line will be looking much better. Defensively, there's just, wow. I mean, look, you got no linebacker behind Ernest Jones, no nose tackle or no defensive tackle behind Bobby Brown. It's just barren all the way through. So we're going to work on that. Absolutely. So let me click at this and we're going to get started here. Pick number 36. I think first and foremost, we have to take a look at the edge position for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, we're getting next to no production from the Rams right now, besides for really Aaron Donald. If you look at the depth chart, there's actually at weak side linebacker, there is a defensive tackle listed as the weak side linebacker. That's how thin this Rams roster is. So I think that there's no better option right now on the board for me at pick number 36. I'm going to go with BJ Ojulari. I think he really, really fits what the Rams are looking for. I was thinking Will McDonald too if he was here, but BJ Ojulari to me is a more complete edge defender. 6'2", 250 pounds, a little bit on the smaller side, but he brings power, he brings great arm strength as well, and he could really set the edge as a run defender as well. So that's a really big thing for me in terms of, an edge defender. That's kind of half your job. Will McDonald is a little bit more of a situational pass rusher. Adetomiwa Adebare, it was an interesting one for me too. So was Keon White. These are more of defensive ends though in a 3-4. I'm looking really more for an outside linebacker here with this first pick. A lot of different ways I think the Rams could go with their first pick at 36. Edge, maybe even defensive line, offensive line, depending on who's there. Cornerback is a big power play as well. But with this first pick, I think there's no one better to take at this point than BJ Ojulari. So I'm going to take him, and he fills a massive need right away. Then with the traded pick at pick number 48, this is where I'm going to address the offensive line. Now, I wasn't really sure if I was going to address it, depending on how the board fell. I had a couple other players in mind. But if Cody Mauch is sitting here at pick number 48, I think this is the absolute move here. I mean, there was throughout a lot of the draft process, Mauch was considered a tackle. He also still could play tackle as well. He's got that versatility. He seems like he's going to be best at guard at the NFL, and this is exactly why I'm taking him here. You slot him right into the left guard position right away. You have a pretty formidable offensive line. Sure, you don't have much depth behind that offensive line, so obviously you have to gather more depth as the draft goes on, undrafted free agency, maybe a signing here or two before the season. But if you get Cody Mauch here at 48, your offensive line is pretty much set when everyone is healthy. He's a big, nasty, physical offensive lineman that just looks for contact. He just loves putting people into the ground. I think he would fit exactly what the Rams are trying to do with their offensive line. So I'm going to take him here with the traded pick at pick number 48. So at pick number 88, like I mentioned before, this is again another traded pick. The three biggest needs that stood out to me was edge, interior offensive line, or offensive tackle, whatever you want to take, but interior offensive line probably first and foremost. And then cornerback is a big issue here. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was traded away. That was the best, or one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Just completely well-rounded too. Not only is he tremendous against the pass, he's a great run defender from the cornerback position as well. As I mentioned in previous videos, that's a really big thing for me too. I'm really big on run defending cornerbacks. Here is an interesting case. Jacoby Durant was really, really good last season. I mean, and this is also a guy, 5'11", 180 pounds, that plays on the outside, 3 interceptions. He runs a 4.38, so you got your fly guy. You got someone that could run down the field with those big, fast receivers. You got him. He played great last year, and I think he's going to step into a really prominent role this year. You need someone on the other side that could really get after those possession guys and really be physical and upfront. And that's why I like Eli Ricks here at pick number 88. This is a guy who was really considered at the beginning of this draft process to be a first-round pick, a high first-round pick. Couldn't really find his way into the Alabama team. He's got all the traits, he's got all the size, and he is a really physical cornerback. I think this is exactly what you need. When you have Jacoby Durant on the outside, a 4.38, you got Eli Ricks on the other side that maybe isn't the fastest, but he could stick to those possession receivers like glue. I think that's a really nice dynamic that you're getting in the secondary. I was considering Kelee Ringo with pick number 36. I just think that if you can get someone like Eli Ricks at this point in the draft at pick number 88, I think he really could start right away for you. Sure, they have Darion Kendrick as well, who has a pretty decent role in the Rams secondary as well, but I think Ricks could just get right in there and start right away on the other side of Jacoby Durant. He brings a really nice change of pace to what Durant brings, a nice versatility between the two of them. Pick number 127 here, another traded pick for the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to go after the defensive line here. I kind of mentioned before that the defensive line is really all over the place besides for Aaron Donald. I think you need another defensive end in there, or another defensive lineman rather, that could get after the quarterback, that could eat up space, eat up blocks as well. And that's Mike Morris for me. This is a guy who was really, really productive last season. And that Michigan defensive line the past couple of years has been outstanding. You think of last year it was David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson. This year it's Mazi Smith and Mike Morris. I mean, obviously to a way lesser scale, where I think Mazi Smith might even slide into the first round this year. I mean, those guys were considered really, really high draft picks. It was just unfortunate what happened to David Ojabo at I believe it was the Combine or his pro day. Anyway, getting back to it, I think Mike Morris would be a really nice addition at this point in the draft. You're getting a starting caliber defensive end that will take some of the pressure off of Aaron Donald. He can get after the quarterback. He's a good run defender as well. I think this would be really nice. If you can get BJ Ojulari and Mike Morris and add that to your your pass rush, rather, your defensive line. I mean, you're pretty much leaving at this point as a win, and you still have 5 more picks. So I'm going to take Mike Morris here, pick number 127. And then pick number 171 with a little bit of that gap there, about 44 picks in between. I'm going to address the secondary again. I'm going to go with some safety help here. I'm going to go with DeMarco Hellams here from Alabama. The first thing that jumps out at you is his tackling ability. The guy in open space, wrap up, he's a phenomenal tackler. He had a bit of a shocker against Tennessee, but what secondary player on Alabama didn't have a shocker against Tennessee that day? Let's call it what it is. So I'm going to get that out of my head there. And Hellams is a really, really good player. He's a guy that I don't think could start right away in the NFL. And at pick number 171, I don't really think that you're asking someone to start right away. That would be amazing if you could find someone that starts day one in the 5th round here. But this is a guy that can come in different situations. He's a pretty good coverage safety for the most part. The one knock against him, the reason why I think he's fallen down the board so far, is his speed. A little bit of an issue of 4.57, but he does look like he plays a little bit faster. His play speed looks a little bit better than that. So I don't necessarily go so much by the 40-yard dash itself. You go by play speed when you're watching game film or tape on the player. And he does look like he plays a little bit faster than that. But like I said, a short tackler, someone that really can stick to his assignment really, really well. I think this would be a nice piece for the Rams to add at this point in the draft. You get a backup safety with the potential to start maybe in a year or two. Then at pick number 182, I'm going to go with a potential swing tackle, offensive tackle depth here. I really like Carter Warren out of Pittsburgh. 6'5", 311 pounds, has a massive wingspan at 35 and 3/8 inch arms, basically 35.5 inch arms there. Tremendous size he brings to the table. He also was a team captain and a stalwart on that Pittsburgh offensive line for quite some time here. So he comes with the experience. He comes with all the tools to be molded into a really formidable offensive tackle. Like I said before, you're tied down to Joseph Noteboom, and Rob Havenstein. Couldn't think of his name. There's so many names going through my head right now. You're tied down to those guys for a few years now, so you're going to have to pay them. You're going to have to play them, unfortunately. I think that this offers some really nice depth. Like I said before, I feel like the offensive line isn't as bad as people think when it's healthy, but the problem is they don't have good depth. So if you could bring in someone like Carter Warren that you could kind of, teach, you could develop at the offensive tackle position. Maybe he can get some really, really meaningful snaps as a swing tackle. I think you're bettering yourself for the long-term future. So I'm going to take Carter Warren at 182. 191, kind of same deal. I'm going to go with Juice Scruggs here. I'm going to go with more offensive line depth because I showed you the depth chart before. It is not pretty. There is a lot of holes there on that offensive line. I think you need to get as many bodies as you can. Scruggs is an interesting case. 6'3" or 6'4", I believe, 305 pounds, was one of the top athletic centers actually at the combine. So that kind of boosted I believe he was going to be projected as a 7th rounder and undrafted free agent, but it did boost his draft stock with his athleticism. So I think this is someone, like I said before, I'm not going to repeat myself. Same deal with Carter Warren. You're getting someone in Juice Scruggs who might be able to take over in the long term, but you're getting some valuable depth here at the position. So I'm going to take him at pick number 191. Then at pick number 223 here, I'm going to go with a backup potential developmental quarterback piece here. I feel like if Dorian Thompson-Robinson is still on the board at this point at 223, and you have no other quarterbacks on the roster besides your Matthew Stafford, I think you've got to go out and get him. This is someone that if you could bring in the draft, maybe even through undrafted free agency, you bring him in and you get a veteran quarterback that's still on the market. You have him be the backup quarterback. You let Dorian Thompson-Robinson be the practice squad, the scout team quarterback, or just on the roster as a third stringer. He could really potentially develop into something special. He's super athletic for the position. I was also thinking of Malik Cunningham as well. Just getting an athletic quarterback that could throw on the run, that could really extend those plays. It's kind of the complete difference to what the Rams have with Matthew Stafford. He's clearly just a pocket passer at this point in his career. We've seen he's one of the toughest guys to ever lace up the cleats to play the quarterback position. I mean, that was evident in his amazing game against, I think it was the Browns or the Bengals, whatever it may be back in the day. That's a legendary clip of him holding his shoulder. But, I think you got to get some athleticism and some youth at the quarterback position. You're just really taking a 6th or 7th round flyer at this point. But like I said, if Thompson Robinson is there, you take a flyer on him as a developmental quarterback that could turn into something really, really special. Then with the Rams' last pick at 251, I'm going to go with some interior linebacker, inside linebacker depth here. I'm going to go with Mohamoud Diabate out of Utah. Super duper player, tackling machine, kind of undersized, I believe 6 foot, 225 pounds. So really not ideal size. I think that's the reason why he slides so far down the board. But really with Ernest Jones being one of the only inside linebackers that you have, you've got to get some depth there. I mean, he might not even see a snap, but you've got to have some depth behind the inside linebackers, obviously. So I'm going to take Diabate here for a little bit of depth. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is my full 7-round 2023 Los Angeles Rams mock draft. I thought I did a pretty decent job at being the GM for a day. I don't usually do trades in these. If you're new to the channel, I don't do trades usually in these 7-round team mock drafts. I've only done it. This is now the 2nd time that I've done it and actually shown everyone what the trades were. The only other one I did a trade in was the Kansas City Chiefs. But here, these are the trades. I mean, I don't know how realistic the value is giving back, but if you can get this pick for all this and then a 4th rounder next year, I say you do it. I doubt that would, in reality, you would be able to do that. Same thing here. I doubt that you'd be able to pick up a pick this close to this pick for pick number 77 just to move up 11 slots. But it really, really worked out in the Rams' favor here. You get a bunch of day one starters here, and just like that, you realize that maybe the rebuild won't take as long as you think it was. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're coming up with a lot of exciting things as we are getting close to draft day. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.